Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dive into the world of high-stakes trial law to pull back the curtain on a really powerful strategy for persuasion. And here's a hint. It has almost nothing to do with arguing facts and everything to do with understanding the stories people already tell themselves.
So let's start with a feeling I think we've all had. You're armed with all the stats, you've got logic on your side, undeniable proof, but the person you're talking to, they just won't budge. Well, as trial experts have discovered, that's not just them being stubborn, that's just how our brains are wired.
And this goes way, way beyond sports. It's a fundamental truth about our psychology, something that experts like trial lawyer Greg Cusimano have spent their entire careers figuring out. And what they've learned is that when you're trying to persuade someone, facts alone are often completely powerless against something much, much stronger.
Think about it. Our core beliefs, the stuff we really hold on to, they aren't built from some rational spreadsheet of facts. No, they're the result of a lifetime of experiences, successes, failures, all of it. And this creates this incredibly powerful filter. Research shows we don't change our beliefs to fit new facts. We actually do the opposite. We cherry-pick the facts that reinforce the beliefs we already have. So if you're in any situation where you need to persuade somebody, a courtroom, a boardroom, even the dinner table, you have to play by these 4 rules of reality. First off, you are not going to change someone's core beliefs in a matter of minutes or hours. It's just not going to happen. Second, people can smell a sales pitch a mile away, and they're naturally suspicious of it. Third, you've only got a sliver of their attention, so they're not going to catch everything you throw at them. And finally, and this is the big one, they will literally tune you out if you start saying things that clash with their worldview.
Okay, so what happens when you decide to ignore all that and just attack a belief head-on? Well, it almost always backfires, sometimes spectacularly.
Let's look at the 2012 presidential campaign. There was this persistent narrative, this belief among a lot of voters that Mitt Romney was out of touch with everyday Americans. So his campaign pushed back hard, trying to prove he cared. But the more they fought against it, the more they just succeeded in making that single issue the main thing everyone was talking about.
And this is where you see a really fascinating contrast in strategy. In 2012, the strategy was try to change the belief, just fight it. But fast forward to 2016, and Donald Trump's campaign did the exact opposite. They didn't fight the belief that he was a wealthy businessman, they leaned into it. They reframed it. His wealth wasn't a sign of being out of touch, it was proof he was a winner, that he knew how to get things done, and that aligned perfectly with a belief many voters already had.
That mistake, trying to change a belief instead of reframing it, is exactly what trial lawyers had to learn to avoid. Because when you're faced with these unmovable beliefs from a jury, you need a different playbook. They developed a strategy they call bottom-up case preparation, and it's all about working with human nature, not fighting against it.
The process sounds simple, but it is absolutely profound. Step 1, you have to do your homework. Use things like focus groups to find out what beliefs the jury is bringing into that room before you even start. Step 2, you accept them. You just have to acknowledge that those core beliefs are not going anywhere. And then, the crucial final step, you frame your entire story in a way that activates the beliefs that help your case and makes the ones that hurt you, well, totally irrelevant.
All right, let's see how this actually works in the real world with a pretty intense example. This case involves a driver, a woman named Louise Logan, and a truly catastrophic collision. So here are the basic, undisputed facts. Louise Logan is driving her SUV down a highway. Suddenly, a massive 75,000-pound truck pulls out from a field right into her path. The impact, as you can imagine, is devastating. Now, if you're her lawyer, you know that jurors are going to have a powerful, instant gut reaction. And sure enough, when they ran focus groups, one belief came back over and over again. That no matter what the truck driver did, Louise must have been speeding.
Now, an old-school lawyer would have spent the entire trial fighting this. They'd bring in experts, charts, all of it, just to prove she wasn't speeding. But using this bottom-up approach, Louise's attorney did something totally radical. He just conceded the point. He basically told the jury, hey, you might hear evidence that she was speeding. And if you believe that, fine.
And that's the genius move. By just letting the speeding issue go, he made it unimportant. He completely sidestepped that harmful belief and reframed the entire case around a different and much more powerful belief, that a professional truck driver has an absolute, non-negotiable responsibility to look and look again before pulling a 75,000-pound rig onto a public highway.
This is such a brilliant illustration of how critical framing is. So let's actually break this down and look at 3 very different ways this exact same set of facts could have been presented to that jury.
So frame 1.
This seems neutral enough, right? But the problem is, it centers the whole story on Louise. She's the first person we think about, which immediately invites the jury to start judging her actions, especially her speed.
Okay, now frame 2. This one tries to make her sympathetic, a new mom with a baby. But as a socio-trial expert like Professor Brandon Blankenship might predict, this is a trap. The focus group showed this frame actually triggers a negative belief, that as a new mom she was probably distracted by the baby, making the crash her fault. It totally backfired.
And here we have it, the winning frame, the one they actually used at trial. Notice something? Louise is barely even in it at the start. The story is 100% about the truck driver's choices, his actions, his failures. This frame forces the jury's attention squarely onto the defendant. And what was the result? The jury found the truck driver 100% responsible.
But here's a really important takeaway. This isn't just about understanding a jury's beliefs. Sometimes, the most dangerous blind spot in the room is your own. Even seasoned experts can get it completely wrong when they just assume everyone else sees the world exactly the way they do.
Greg Cusimano, the trial lawyer we mentioned earlier, he actually found this out the hard way. He was part of this huge national team suing a major printer company. The company had been caught secretly putting half the amount of ink in their cartridges, while charging the exact same price. To Cusimano and this team of top lawyers, this was a clear, open and shut case of fraud.
The lawyer's belief was that this was a massive injustice, a company ripping people off. But when they ran their focus groups, they were absolutely stunned. Jurors didn't see fraud at all. They saw a clever business decision. Their belief was, well, companies are supposed to make money. And the verdict was basically, let the buyer beware. The lawyer's own powerful beliefs about justice had completely blinded them to how regular people would see it.
And the outcome? It just shows how badly the lawyers misread the room. Not only did they lose the case, but some of the jurors were so offended by the lawsuit, they actually asked the judge if the lawyers could be disciplined for filing a frivolous case. The story that seemed so logical to the lawyers crashed and burned because it went against the jury's fundamental beliefs about capitalism.
Ultimately, this strategy isn't just for lawyers trying to win in a courtroom. It's a fundamental lesson in communication for every single one of us. Before you can hope to persuade anyone of anything, you have to stop and ask yourself, what do they already believe to be true? Because the winning story isn't the one with the most facts. It's the one that resonates with the truths your audience already holds dear.